Hi, everybody. Welcome to Understand Your Cycle podcast, where we turn taboos into table topics. Today, I am really very excited to welcome Heidi to the podcast. Heidi is a writer, clothes enthusiast, and storyteller. And today, we're going to talk about plenty of different things. Hi, Heidi.
Hello, how are you?
Really good, thanks. Really good. And really excited for this chat. So, thanks for everything. Wait, where have you just moved to? You're still in
I am
California?
still in Montecito, California. I just moved to a different guest house, one that I actually have to pay rent for.
Oh God.
Boo.
Boo.
Like the rest of America and the world and the universe. I have to pay rent. What a concept.
Oh goodness. Well, good luck with it. It looks lovely from
It's
your
great.
background.
I really like it. I know that light looks kind of cool.
It is
The cool light.
cool.
For those
So
of you who are listening, sorry.
yeah, you'll be able to watch it on YouTube as well if you're really interested in the light. um,
As you
so
should be.
before we get going, I'd like to ask you if there's a period related story that you may or may not have told anybody else that you'd like to share with us.
I think there's like maybe what if I told you two stories
I'd love that.
just to set up how. So I got my period when I was probably 13 or 14 years old, which was 1973, 1,000 years ago. And my parents are British, and my mom was not exactly warm and fuzzy, huggy feely, or believed that children should know anything. So she never told me what a period was, and somehow I escaped knowing what a period was. And when it came, I assumed I was dying because I was bleeding from my vagina. So that's how I entered into the world of getting my
Oh my
period,
God.
not knowing why I was bleeding. Thank you, Mom. And one of the last times I got my period, when you're going into menopause right before you stop getting your period, it sort of has a final like death run, death rattle, and it's really heavy. And mine came in the writer's room while I was wearing white pants, and
Oh
it was just
no.
one of those like explosions, and I had to sit in that pool in my white pants until the very end of the day when the last writer left the room, and then I sort of pushed myself out on the chair and had to throw the chair out and hide it and tie my sweater around my waist to make it home. It was great, really fun. I was so happy that I stopped getting my period.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've read that that when you're kind of entering menopause or kind of almost there, your period, the frequency that your period comes changes as well,
Oh,
right?
it's
So you can have it
insane.
like,
It's insane. It's just endless. It's just you're constantly bleeding. At least that was my
oh,
case. And it was like I said, I was giving birth to just blood babies. That's probably not very PC or fun to listen to, but sorry, I'm not very PC sometimes. And oh
no,
well.
I love that. I love that about your content. So continue being not PC. It's, you know what, like, I think we don't talk about this stuff enough
Oh,
in
we don't talk about
non-PC
anything.
version. Well,
We don't
yeah.
talk about anything honestly. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm discovering that might be a problem with some brands because I don't get a lot of brand deals. I'm starting to think my honesty and mouth is why. But
That's
oh well,
interesting. I've thought about that as well, actually. Sorry, this is very off topic, but we're gonna
that's
roll with it
okay.
anyway. I've thought about that before because I feel like some brands are probably put off by the fact that I like talking about sex and periods and feminism online as well. But
Same.
also
And I
like
have
you're,
gray hair and I'm white, so I don't know. I think it's a combination of crap right now.
you know what, the right ones will want to work with you for who you are. So
A
fuck the
hundred
rest anyway,
percent.
right?
100%.
We'll come back to menopause a little bit later, I think. I'm 30 and I've made the decision in the last kind of, well, actually, I think I've always had this decision in the back of my mind. It's just sort of now that I'm married and this is all kind of happening and people are asking questions, I've made the decision that I don't want to have kids. And I've not met that many women who are older than me that have made that decision as well and are happy with it and have lived awesome, wonderful lives without kids. And I find listening to the stories that you put out about that really inspiring. So I wanted to know if you could talk to us about how you came to that decision, or if it just kind of
Mm.
happened naturally. How did it come about?
Well, as I like to say, I was very busy being an alcoholic during the years that I should have been getting married and having children. And I was working, and I was never somebody that thought it was that important to have a relationship. So I had relationships, but they weren't like the focus of my life. They still aren't. And so I got sober. I didn't get sober till I was 40. And I thought, okay, I should probably think about having kids. And so I had a friend that was going to donate some sperm because I didn't have a relationship. And I went to my gynecologist and she told me what I would have to do to get pregnant. And it just all sounded like no. My gut
Mm.
was just like, no, I don't want to do any of that. And it's funny because I always wanted kids,
Oh.
but I think I just always wanted what I was supposed to have, as opposed to really wanting to have kids. And so the decision was sort of made for me, but I was okay with it. And I'm
Yeah, I
still okay
think
with it. And I've never regretted it.
it's great. I mean, it's really interesting. I think that the idea of having kids is quite glamorized, and it's interesting what you say about sort of they explained to you what you were going to go through, and you went, "No, not
No.
doing
Yeah,
this." It's a lot.
look, this country loves to tell people that you are nothing unless you are married with a family. The end, period, full stop. And it's exhausting. And I've grown up with it. And it took me a long time to realize that I was living a life that was different, but there was nothing wrong with it. In the beginning, I thought how I was living my life was wrong because that's what I was told. Like I wasn't a normal member of society. I was an old maid. I was a loser. I was a failure because I didn't get married or have kids. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe I did something right. At least I did something right for me because I'm happy.
That's super important. All of that still exists, unfortunately. I definitely
I
hear that
know
from,
the patriarchy is
yeah,
strong, and they want to keep us in control, and the way they do that is keeping us doing the jobs that they think are the only jobs we should have, which is momming and nurturing or not nurturing. Mine wasn't, but everyone should get to decide how they want to live their life. It is your life. And sometimes it takes you a really long time to realize, like, oh shit, it's my life. I don't have to live it the way everybody else is doing it. It doesn't make me a failure.
absolutely. Perfectly said. I think a lot of people that are on the fence, I mean, it's funny because whenever I say this, I almost feel bad because I've made this decision and I'm very solid in my decision. So I can't put myself in the position of somebody who's on the fence about it or really wants kids, but it isn't happening, something like that. It's like whatever path we choose in life, it's all going to work out and it's all going to be great. Like with kids, without kids, like you
If
said,
you
it's your
want it
life.
to, if you
Yeah.
want it to work out, it'll work out. If you're living in misery over your decisions, you'll stay in misery. It's all about your own mindset. But the last thing we need is other people telling us how to live our lives. And
Yeah.
I think that's sort of what the Constitution is. A list of, things you should do. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not into it. Not the Constitution, but I'm not into the list that I didn't make up. I didn't write it. Why am I paying attention to it?
Yeah, absolutely. There are no rules to how we should or shouldn't be living our lives. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, if we're
Ugh,
all individual snowflakes and we're all different, then shouldn't we all be living individual snowflake lives?
absolutely. Absolutely. No one size fits all.
Yeah.
Ugh. I mean, this wasn't part of the plan, but it was just America has just I've just it's all flooded to me and how crazy America is at the moment with all of
Ugh.
these abortion rules, and it makes me sad. Like I struggle to read the news and to I really feel for everyone in the States right now.
We are living in the handmaid's tale. And if Donald Trump
Yeah.
gets elected, we will fully be living in the handmaid's tale because he wants to make abortion national. Um, no abortions national. And, I had an abortion. And here's the thing. I didn't throw a party. It wasn't a good time. I wasn't happy that I had to have one. It was terrifying and awful and miserable, and I think about it all the time. But it was my right because it is my body. And if men were told that they couldn't ejaculate legally, how would they feel? They don't care because they make all the rules. And
Yeah,
again,
they've
they just
also yeah.
it's hideous. It's truly hideous that we've reverted back to these ancient laws, and it's terrifying. It really is. I hope people realize, I hope women get out and vote. No matter what they think about Joe Biden, they should do some research into all of the good things that he's done because I think his PR team is awful.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, anything not to get Trump elected, right? Like
Yeah.
we've just got to avoid it at all costs.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's just a nightmare. I'm sorry, but
I completely agree. Completely
and every
agree.
I and the people that, that voted for him. I mean, I feel like he completely ruined the country because he gave horrible people, mean people permission to be outwardly awful. And a lot of them are anti-Semitic. And I feel like a lot of that is going
Mhm.
on right now. And it's just not fun right now. I feel bad for kids. I feel bad for kids that are being like indoctrinated into terrorist organizations.
Yeah, I feel bad for kids watching it happen around them and not really knowing what to do about it either. It must be
Yeah.
really, yeah, it must be really tough.
Yeah.
It's coming back to what you said about abortion. I know a few friends who've had abortions as well, and they say exactly the same thing. It's not like you're running to the clinic going, yeah, like doing this because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
I remember watching, you remember the show Girls on HBO? I
Yeah.
think one of the first couple of episodes I infuriated me and I stopped watching the show because they showed they showed the girls throwing a party for one of their friends in the abortion clinic. And like, I get what you're saying, but you just can't, I just don't think it's that flippant a decision. Whether you think it's a life or not, whether it's an amoeba or a nothing or whatever you think about it, I don't think you should be that flippant about it. I think it's a medical procedure and things can go wrong. And I don't know. I hated that show because of that episode and many other
Yeah.
reasons why, but I guess I'm just not cool enough to be a girl.
I mean, I think I only made it past episode one as well, but didn't really like it that much. So I feel you.
It was a lot.
I did. I don't even think I got to that bit because that bit would have annoyed me as well.
It was just really
Yeah.
like a lot of like white privilege, in my humble opinion. But
Gross. Yeah, it's a medical procedure, and also I think no matter how, pro-choice you are, I think there would still probably be that tiny little thing in your head that was like, oh, this feels a bit icky, it feels a bit weird. No, I mean, I've heard that from people if it's like, you know
for
that
me,
this is
it
the right
was.
choice.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
me, it was not an easy decision. And um, yeah, it wasn't easy. I mean, I don't think I killed anything, although I say I killed a baby on the highest of Jewish holidays because I got my abortion on Yom Kippur. But
Oh my God.
I say that for comedic reasons more
Yeah.
than actual reasons, but I killed the possibility of being a mom, I guess is what I meant.
Wait, that's the fast, right? Were you fasting whilst doing
I
it?
don't think so. It was a disastrous time in my life. just a disaster. Yeah, the person I was with was a disaster. Everything was a disaster. But oh well, here I am.
Was he supportive?
No, totally
Oh,
blamed me, made me go by myself. It was awful.
oh no.
Yeah,
Ah, that's really sad. I'm sorry about
it
that.
was
It
really
just
sad.
men don't, yeah, a lot of men just don't really get it, do
You could
they?
just
Which
stop
is
it. Men, full stop.
yeah. Yeah, it's
I mean,
one of
I know
one
you
of
married
those.
one, but
He's a good one. They do exist every
they
now and
make
then. They
them.
come along.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
make them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to help make them, but they do exist.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, do you do you mind talking about it more? I'm sorry if
No,
it's
not
tell
at
me if
all.
it's a difficult.
Not at
Okay.
all. It's so many years ago. Uh, yeah, I mean, it was
How
19.
old were you? Yeah.
I must have been 26.
Wow.
So what is that? 1986 or 7? 1986 probably, or 85. Yeah. And it was Planned Parenthood, which is why we should support them.
Yeah.
And it was, I went by myself to a clinic on the Upper East Side in Manhattan. And then the next night or that night, I had to go home to break the fast, which I wasn't on, with my parents
Hmm.
and a Hasidic Jewish cousin who refused to speak to me because they don't talk to girls. I don't know. Some parts of religion are so
Wild.
weird.
Yeah.
And it was a trip. It was a real trip. And then my boyfriend was constantly blaming me for getting pregnant. Like, what?
What?
Yeah. I mean, he was a psychotic, struggling model, cocaine addict, cheater, narcissist, like you name it. I piled it all into one horrible boyfriend.
How he could blame you for these men,
Exactly. Well, I'm the one
honestly.
with the eggs, so I guess it's
Yeah.
my fault. Yeah.
Obviously, it's not like he has a penis or anything. Wow.
No, it was a miraculous birth.
Oh my goodness. That's insane. And I mean the actual procedure as well. Do you remember much of it? Was it
I remember all
did
of
you
it.
do yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Was
all
it
of it.
scary? Was it
It was
painful?
terrifying. It was painful.
Yeah.
You're a wide awake,
Oof.
you know, no drugs, I don't think. No, I didn't have any drugs. You're wide awake and there's a fucking thing shoved up you and it feels like they're literally scraping the roof of your mouth. They're so high up.
Oh,
Um, and the terrible, terrible, terrible cramping. It was awful. And I was there by myself. It was just awful.
you poor
Yeah.
thing. So
But
much of what we have
again,
to go. Sorry.
grateful that I was able to do it. I should be able to do that. I should be able to experience that if that's what I have to go through.
Yeah, that's it. That's definitely it. I feel that anyone that thinks that we make these decisions flippantly is so out of touch with reality that they shouldn't be
Yeah.
making decisions about these things, like at all.
Yeah.
So much of what we go through as women with our reproductive health is so invasive. I
Yes, I
mean,
know.
it's just
Just getting a checkup. I did a podcast with a male gynecologist a couple of weeks
mm,
ago, and I said to him, like, just so you know, I've been SA'd and I cannot go to a male gynecologist because it is so invasive to me and so creepy and awful. And he's like, yeah, I understand that. I get that a lot. Like, ugh, no, thank
yeah,
you.
I get that. I
It's
get
just
that. I even
awful.
yeah, I even find, yeah, I had that
I
recently. I had
hate
like a
it.
boob checkup for, I had felt something in my boob and it was a guy that was like checking my boobs and I
Never,
was like, I don't like
never.
it. Just
No, never.
no.
I can't do it. I cannot do it. Never, never.
No.
I haven't since I was like 13 years old. since the first time I went. I've always had a woman. It's just creepy. And the fact that men don't like understand that when they hate it so much when they have to get their balls cupped or a finger shoved up their ass, like this is worse
Yeah,
because
absolutely. Well,
having a finger shoved up your ass might not be part of your intimacy, whereas having things put in our vagina is, you
mhm.
know, it sucks.
Yeah,
No
it's really
males.
weird. I've just like thought back to the time where I got my first coil fitted, and that was literally it's just it's so weird. Even to have, female anyone down there when it's all
Yeah, it's
medical is
weird.
just not. It's weird. It's not fun. That was also.
I haven't been to the gynecologist in so long. Like I have to get a pap
uh,
smear because my age, cervical cancer and all that, and I just can't do it. I need to, but I I'm like, I don't have sex, so I'm not using it. And what could be wrong?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get that. I was really worried before I went for my first one, like, which embarrassingly wasn't that long ago. We call them smear tests here. Pap smear
Yeah,
test,
same
same thing.
thing.
Yeah. And it was all a bit weird, but it was actually fine in the end, thank goodness. The NHS here has really saved the day with this kind of stuff. They're quite good. It's very much you're in and out, and that's it. It's all good.
Yeah.
So good old NHS. So back to menopause. Talk to me about your journey into it, and what that looked like. I can't believe that I don't know. Like, I haven't heard that many experiences of this, and I feel like I'm going back to the days of periods when you don't know anything, and then it kind of suddenly happens to you. And I don't want to be that person that goes into menopause without knowing anything about
Well,
it.
I think that might be better to tell you the truth because I didn't know anything about it and I
Hmm.
ignored it all and it was nothing.
Oh
And
wow.
I know that that is not a familiar take.
Hmm.
Um, I I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what came from it. I looked more up about like turning 50 and what starts happening to your body, but none of it
Hmm.
was necessarily menopausal related. I think I had one hot flash.
Hmm.
Uh, the only thing that I knew is my period stopped, and that was the greatest day of my life. As I said earlier,
Wow.
I call it the day my vagina died, and I was so happy to never have another period again. I mean, the fact that we get our period every month and we still don't know when we're gonna like bleed through into our fucking outfits is wild to me, but never failed. I always ruined something. And so I was so happy never to be getting my period again. And then, like I said, I think I had one hot flash. If I gained a lot of weight, like
Mm.
overnight, it felt like I gained 15
Wow.
pounds and my boobs felt huge. And then I took some kind of pill called Estrosense for like, I don't know, a week. And then
Mm.
I just started exercising and I don't know, it just stopped. It fell off. And then or it eventually came off. And like I said, I didn't have any hot flashes. If I was more emotional, I don't know. I had gotten more
Mm.
emotional in general because I had done ayahuasca and that had opened me up to my emotions. So I
Mm.
didn't notice if that was menopausal. I don't know if I was crabbier because I was always kind of a crabby, like, fuck off, leave me alone kind of person. So
Mhm.
menopause was nothing to me. I ignored
Wow.
it. I and it's a very unpopular opinion when I say this, but I just did not lean into it.
Mm.
I just didn't give it any space, and it worked for me. Now, I know that there are people that you literally can't ignore it, and they get mad when I say that I ignored it, but I was able to. That is
Mhm.
my journey, and I am so grateful that that's what it was because it was nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting that like everyone has such wildly different experiences. I mean, the stats say
Well,
that
that's the female body,
90%.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Yeah. So 90% of people that go through menopause have at least one symptom, which to me, I was like, wait, shouldn't it be 100%? I thought that everybody
No,
got
we're
something,
all
but
so
no.
different, which is what's,
Yeah.
again, hello, we're all so different.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, yeah, it's sorry that you get shit for saying that, because I think that's actually
Well, I
really
feel bad.
important
I
to
don't
hear.
want to, I don't want to negate other people's feelings. And I think the fact that I suggested, like, don't lean into it
Mm.
made people angry. And I get that.
Mm. Kind of, but I also feel like, if you don't need to lean into it, then don't. It also kind of sounds like from what you're saying that you kept yourself busy and you just lived your life, so
Yeah.
it didn't become a thing because you were just out living, and maybe that's quite
Yes.
important. Yeah. I mean, I have one friend who's really, really suffering with it at the moment, and she's just like a completely different person. And that's really, yeah, it's really sad when that happens, and you have to make it a thing. But if you don't,
Yeah.
then fucking great, good for you.
I mean, yeah, I feel bad for people that have brutal menopause, and many do.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
it's our experience as women, isn't it? Really, like, oh, I feel bad for people who have like PCOS and endometriosis as well. Like, you just get dealt you don't get dealt your cards, and that's just that, isn't it?
Yeah, that endometriosis shit sounds nasty. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we get so much, we have to go through so much more than men. Like, it was just piled on to us.
Hmm.
And I get it. We're more important, and we're in charge of restocking the planet with humans. So, we're more complicated. We have to take care
Yeah.
of everyone. We are the nurturers. I wish more men were nurturing, but
Yeah,
I
me
haven't met
too.
that many who are.
I also feel like with society being the way it is, we forget to look after ourselves. We're so busy looking after everybody else. And I
Yeah.
guess that's kind of part of this project, Understand Your Cycle, as well. Like, we need to know all of this. We need to talk about all of this, and we need to be looking out for each other, ourselves, and, no longer just accepting things the way they are. And yeah.
Well, I think
So,
that's all part of, women not being the enemy to each other, and to stop the female on female crime that seems to be so easily produced in us. And again, that is part of the patriarchy as well. They want us to
mhm,
be enemies. They don't want us to join forces and rise up against them. And I feel like, yes, it's really important to share stories with each other. It's why I do what I do. But it's also really important to tell people that it's okay to be to pay attention to yourself. It's not like, selfish isn't a bad word. It's all about,
mhm.
like, taking care of yourself. You can't take care of anybody else until you take care of yourself well. And, I always quote Glennon Doyle, my favorite quote from her book, Untamed, which boiled down is basically, your job in this life is to disappoint as many people as possible in order to avoid disappointing yourself. And I think it's really important to stop disappointing ourselves, and you'll take better care of your kids and the people in your family if you take care of yourself first. You know?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I saw that on one of your reels recently, and I really like that quote.
Yeah,
Also,
it's
like,
really
going
good.
back
The
to,
full quote is great.
yeah.
The book is
Um,
amazing.
okay, I need to get myself that. I can go on the shelf behind me, a nice bookshelf.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole being selfish thing. I mean, I get called selfish all the time from all these men behind fake accounts on the internet who like to tell me I'm selfish, which I'm sure happens to you as well, right? I mean,
I'm pretty lucky
yeah.
in the hate department. I don't get a lot. I'm super grateful that I have, like, a really beautiful supportive community. I think that's why I ended up sort of, it's all been so organic the way this all happened. I really just started putting outfits together, and then I started
Mhm.
talking a little bit more, and uh it all just kind of happened. It wasn't what I was expecting or planning or thought about. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I've learned in this life now because of it is don't worry about the outcome. Just do it.
I love that. I love
As
that.
Nike
I think
says,
that
just do it.
yeah can be applied to anything, anywhere, at
Yeah.
all times. So
Mhm.
so good. Um, do you have any advice for, let's start with like someone in there, we kind of covered the not having kids versus having kids thing, but well, actually though, let's reframe this question. What, if you could go back, what would you tell yourself in your 20s or 30s about periods or anything sort of menstrual cycle related? Is there anything you would tell yourself?
Just don't take it all too seriously, you know? It's just part of life. I mean, I didn't, once it's just, what are you going to tell yourself about menstruating? It
Mm,
is what it is. You have to do it. It's part of being a woman, unless you want to have your insides ripped out, which you can if you don't want to have kids, or it is just part of being a woman. And I'm so grateful to be a woman that I was okay with it? So, um, I guess really that's the only thing I would say is just what's the benefit of getting your period? The benefit is you get to be a woman,
yeah,
and
I
that's
love
pretty
that.
fucking awesome.
I love that. I get a lot of people who say to me they hate their periods and they're so heavy and they're horrible and they're debilitating. And that's like, I'm
What's the
lucky that
alternative?
that's,
To have
yeah,
a
well,
penis,
that's,
to have a penis. No, thank you.
no thanks. I would take the heavy, horrible, horrible periods any day. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think like the acceptance and knowing that it is part of womanhood and being a woman is fucking amazing. Like that's
yeah.
really important. Yeah. But then also that it doesn't leave you when you get menopause. It's still you and you're still great, right?
There's absolutely no difference. You
hmm
just don't ruin your clothes and all of your underwear.
I love that. That is really good. Really, really
It's
good to know.
literally the only difference, at least for me.
Oh, brilliant. Well, it's been absolutely fantastic speaking to you, Heidi. Thank you so much for all the insights and everything. Where can people find you on Instagram?
Instagram and TikTok, I am at Welcome to Heidi. And anything else you want to know about me is all in my link tree on both of those accounts. Oh, I'm also on YouTube at Welcome to Heidi. I need to
Cool.
post some more on that, actually.
Am I right in thinking you're writing a book?
I
Or
did
have I
write a
made that
book
up? Oh, you did
10
write a
years
book.
ago. It's called Welcome to Heidi. It's also linked in my link tree. And I think I'm going to write another one because
Sweet.
I'm
Well,
so drastically different from the one that I wrote in my 50s. The difference between 50 and 60 is mind-boggling.
really? Oh, cool. I can't,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
50s are
I'm
hard. 60s are amazing.
really, that's
Yeah.
so what makes 50s hard and 60s amazing? What's
Um,
the biggest differences?
the fact that you go through menopause and that you are considered unfuckable, and once you are no longer sexually viable in this country, you no longer matter.
And that's so interesting because that could be framed as a bad thing, but you could also very much
It's
take
an
it as
awful
a
thing.
great thing.
It's an awful thing, but it becomes a great thing because when you realize that your invisibility is a superpower, you actually get back to who you are. And then all of a sudden you're sexually viable again because people want to be around you. And then it's a curse again. I'm fine with it, but
Hmm,
I know that it's a very difficult time in a lot of women's lives. And it's why I only write about women over 50.
that's really interesting.
Yeah. And
I'm
I'm starting a podcast about it also.
cool. Well, I can't wait to listen. And yeah, good luck with the new book. And
Thank
I'm
you.
sure we'll speak soon. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for everything.